Hello and welcome back to another episode of the On the Sideline podcast with Jackson and Kyle. And I am joined here, as always, by the man who just got done writing a strongly worded letter to Vic Fangio after the Monday Night Football game. Kyle, how are you doing?
Not too bad. I had a good chance to go 7-1 in our first week of predictions. And the Broncos basically just changed game plans in the second half for whatever reason. And lost the game. So, it happens, but I'm still tied 6-2, 6-2. So I'm still feeling pretty good about it right now.
Yes, we each had two misses during our first prediction. So those carry over. We'll see who does the better job this time. So let's just start there. Let's just start with here's what we're going to do. We're going to preview all of the week 2 games, but we're going to talk about the Monday night games. Let's start with the late night one. The Titans, despite some kicking miscues, and you know what? I have to say, I know a lot of people I saw you tweet out, does Vic Fangio know he has 3 timeouts? Everyone was getting on him. I didn't hate that call. And let me explain why. I think that there was a very high likelihood that they were going to get Tennessee was going to end up getting a first down anyways. And I think if you use all your timeouts, you're just giving them more plays to eventually get a touchdown. I kind of like the decision to just sort of put it in the kicker's hands. It didn't work out too well, mainly I think because they couldn't stop Henry whatsoever. They got right inside to a chip shot. But I didn't hate the call to sort of say, let's just try to see if we can get one more missed field goal out of this.
Yeah, the thing is that there's 2 sides to this. So the first side is that, if you don't call a timeout and he misses the field goal, you look like a genius. Because obviously, you look at situations like, you can look at the Patriots back in that Super Bowl win over the Seahawks, where Belichick not calling the timeout at the 1-yard line kind of confused Carroll, I think, a little bit and forced him into that passing play. So there's situations like that where if you don't call a timeout and it works in your favor, you look brilliant. But at the same time, I think that if you're just looking at the situation, getting Gutskowski to think about this field goal for another minute, I think would have made all the difference too, because he was clearly in his own head about this field goal and his own kicking struggles, not to mention that it seemed like that they were moving the ball pretty well either way. So why not give your offense a chance to try and make a play?
Well, because I think if you don't use your timeouts, if you use your timeouts, then your offense still isn't getting an opportunity because they can still just run out the clock if they choose to, if they get a first down. So the only real way it matters, in my opinion, is if you can stop Tennessee right in their tracks anyways. And if you do, I would rather just have a long field goal. I feel like even if you were to get a 3 and out, use your timeouts, and they make the field goal, it's not a high chance you're getting it anyways. I think at the end of the day, it's just a position I wouldn't want to be in if I'm a head coach. How do you really prepare to go up against that situation? I'm not going to get on him too much for that. I'm not concerned in the future. What will he do later on when another kicker misses 3 field goals, and including an extra one of them being an extra point? I think it's overblown. I think at the end of the day, Tennessee was the better team. With all those missed field goals, they were still able to find a way to pull out the victory.
Yeah, they were the better team throughout. That's fair enough. Quick side note, I really would have loved to see Fangio go for the 73-yard field goal out of McManus. No chance that ever happens, but why not? But just overall, I did think Tennessee was the better team. I think they are a good team. I picked the Colts to win the AFC South during our preview, and I kind of scaled back on that when the Titans signed Clowney. I thought that was a big deal because one of the reasons I didn't like the Titans as much is because they lost Jarrell Casey, who I thought was still pretty good in that game for the Broncos. The Broncos defense looked really good. The biggest issue I had with the Broncos in week 1 was I didn't really understand why they went away from what was working in the first half. I didn't feel like this was a revisionist thing because I felt like, they did a great job of establishing Gordon early. They were hitting Judy and Noah Fant early or going across the middle of the field, and those guys had a ton of yards. They were dominating a lot of the game, I thought. Judy obviously had 2 really bad drops that, killed 2 drives, but they also only ran 6 plays in the third quarter because they started throwing these swing passes and out routes that I didn't think made a lot of sense when they were just beating the Titans over the middle of the field. So I didn't understand that part as far as their offensive game plan, why they changed a lot of that. But I did think Tennessee was the better team. So
Yeah. As for Judy, I thought he looked good despite the couple drops. But we can move on now to the other Monday night game. Also, just everyone in the chat, feel free to ask questions. Make sure you're asking them about what the topic we're currently talking about. We'll try to field some questions as we go as well. Let's also, So Pittsburgh, Big Ben got off to a slow start, but looks like he's back. I thought that this was actually maybe an optimistic game for the Giants, despite the final score.
Yeah, I mean, I thought there was parts where they looked really good. You know, they had that 19-play drive. Wasn't it 19 plays that Jones ended up throwing the pick in the end zone? You know, I thought they looked fantastic up until that point, especially with that Pittsburgh defense. You know, they were able to make a lot of plays there. But at the same time, I still feel like Pittsburgh, despite some early struggles, were the better team. And I still feel pretty confident in saying that this is the third best team in the AFC. I do want to see a little more out of guys like, Benny Snell had a really good game. Chase Claypool, I thought, had some moments. Deontay Johnson had some moments. I want to see a little bit more of some of those guys, but I do feel confident that this may be the third best team in the AFC.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, third. Okay, so yeah, I mean they're very good. I mean the Pittsburgh defensive line, I mean, just completely destroyed the Giants. Obviously, a terrible day for Saquon. Big Ben ends up out rushing him. Saquon had a couple of miscommunications where he didn't pick up a blitz that resulted in a sack. Although I think one was actually Andrew Thomas's fault, but. He had a couple of plays where he was in there and it screwed it up. Just a rough day as a whole for Saquon Barkley. But again, you're going up against Pittsburgh. I thought they had some really good moments. They kept it close. Eventually, Big Ben was able to figure it out and they had a good game. But yeah, I thought that was a good one. And we can get off the Monday night game. Just wanted to give a quick, talk about those for a couple minutes. So let's get into the meat of this episode, the preview show. Here's how this works. If you missed our first one, we will go back and forth, giving each other a game that we have to pick. We will do all 16 games, and whoever ends up with the most misses at the end of the season loses. Most wins, obviously. And so, yeah, I mean, it's pretty simple. We both went 2-2, and since we're tied, this now means that we're going to go possession arrow style. Kyle, you will get to select a game for me to pick. So why don't you start it off? Give me what you think will be the most difficult game to pick.
All right. So I'm looking at the most difficult game of the week. I do feel like there's a lot of, definitive favorites throughout this week that could make it very complicated. I'm going to go with, let's see. For week one, I'm going to open up with a game which one team really struggled with heavy expectations in week one, and one team that, the scoreline was a lot closer than I thought what the game was. And these two teams both had playoff potential and were hoping to make the playoffs. I'm going to go with the Vikings at Indianapolis for your first game of the week.
This was also number one on my board. This is a tough one. I feel like this could go either way. I think that my biggest takeaway when I actually got to watch the Vikings-Packers game was that the Vikings corners did not look good. And that's something that really worries me. I think that the Colts, really what it's going to come down to is I feel like every game that Phillip Rivers doesn't throw an interception, they're going to win. And every game Phillip Rivers throws multiple interceptions, they're going to lose. Like, it really does. A lot of it comes down to Phillip Rivers not making those dumb throws. I don't know if Minnesota has the corners who can take advantage of some of those dumb throws. I think the Indianapolis Colts are a better team, even with Marlon Mack down. I'm going to go Indianapolis. I don't feel too confident about it. I think this is the close one. This one could go either way.
Yeah, I mean, the one thing, so my instant reaction to that game was, why is Phillip Rivers throwing a ball 46 times? I think that, I'm not a huge fan. I was a big fan of Marlon Mack, but obviously with him getting hurt, I almost think that it could be almost sort of an addition, because they kind of worked out that backfield that it seemed like they didn't really know who to give carries to, because Jonathan Taylor is going to be the guy now, and Naheem Hines is also going to be, kind of that third down guy, which I think helps. So I think that there's more. I think that they go more run heavy, even with those Minnesota quarters. I think that they could still expose them a lot, but I just don't think Phillip Rivers needs to throw that much. I don't think he needs to drop back 46 times. So I would probably agree with you in the Colts on this one. Minnesota turned it around, but they were they looked really bad for a lot of that game. That score line was not indicative of how bad they played in week 1.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Yeah, I think that this should be an interesting one. I'll take my pick now. Oh, I forgot to put up the score. Whatever. I'll give my pick now. I'm going to give the one pick on the board. I'm going to give you. I think this is an interesting one. Rams Eagles. One team really needs a win after a disappointing week 1. The other team doesn't need a win as badly, but would really like one in the Rams. I think this one's one that I don't feel too confident in either way. Who do you got?
So yeah, I mean, this is an interesting one because it seems like everyone's completely out on the Eagles, or not necessarily the Eagles, but Carson Wentz especially, which I thought was a little crazy because I still think he's incredibly talented, and he lost 3 offensive linemen and 1 replacement in that game. I think I'm going to talk about Washington here a little bit later too. I'm a big fan of what I saw from them in week 1. I am going to go with the Rams here in this one, just because if some of those offensive linemen aren't healthy, Aaron Donald is not the guy you want to see in week 2. So I'm going to go with the Rams just because I feel like their defense can get a lot done. And I actually liked a lot of what I saw out of the Rams against the Cowboys. I thought they were a very good team that is going to be able to put up a lot of points in some weeks. And I think they're going to get it done here.
Yeah, I like the Rams as well. I think that that's who I would have chosen. Again, we sort of talked a little bit pre-show. It's like there's not a ton of incredibly close games, and I think that there's really the only game I felt like on the board that I didn't feel confident in either way with the Vikings Colts. It'll be interesting to see. We sort of saw Jared Goff kind of return to form a little bit. We saw the whole Rams offensive line return to form again, and I think there is a fear for the Eagles that the Rams just completely blow them out. I also think it's very fair to say we could definitely see a bounce back game from Wentz. I know it was. I even made a video on the pocket presence, and there's some real issues there. But also, Wentz is still a really good quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people, go a little crazy over it. I think his decision making sometimes can fail him, especially when it's not open in the first few seconds of his drop back. But I still think he's still incredibly talented. His arm talent is probably top 4 in the league. I would still bet on Wentz being very good this season.
Yeah, myself as well. Although I got in trouble betting on Wentz week 1. I had a 5-team can't lose parlay. The one game that went wrong was Wentz. Brutal, or the Eagles game. Brutal one for me. All right, your next pick now. Who do you got?
All right, I'm sending you to the home opener Monday night. One offense looked very good in week 1. The other one, the defense looked really good in week 1, and they put up probably more points than I thought their offense actually looked. I'm going New Orleans at the Raiders for the pick them.
Okay, I was a lot lower on this game than you were. I think that this is listen, I know Raiders Nation, I hear you. The Saints are going to win this football game probably. I mean, again, you never know. It's football. The Raiders could figure something out, but this New Orleans team is just loaded, and they have to be favorites in this one. And I have to be honest, I was disappointed in what I saw from the Raiders defense. And unless we're just hoping that Drew Brees is old and Drew Brees doesn't have it anymore, I mean, I think this could easily be a bit bad game for Raiders fans. I also think that this is a game where I think, one of the best things about Las Vegas is their offensive line. I mean, we just saw probably the best, or not the best, but one of the best defensive line performances against an offensive line week 1, where Tampa Bay couldn't get anything going because of the Saints O-line or D-line. I don't know. I think this is I'm surprised you picked this one so high. I got this as Saints.
So I mean, I do see this. I see this game as a potential shootout. Potential shootout. I do think that Vegas's offense is good enough to score on anybody. I think that they looked very good in a lot of points during that Carolina game. I think that they have potential to put it all together. I think Jacobs is, rising into one of the top running backs in the league if he isn't already. And I could just see this game being a shootout. I think it's going to be a fun game to watch for Monday night.
Yeah, I mean it's fair. I mean, I just think that what the Saints defense did last week was so tough, and it's just so tough to to beat. And I almost wonder if, I mean, it should be, don't get me wrong, this should be a blast to watch. This should be a really fun game. So yeah, it's definitely something very cool. Also, I see we got a super chat in the comments. Thank you, Jose Lopez. Much appreciated. And we can just, from that, well, yeah, I mean, let's talk a little bit more about the Raiders, actually, because one of the things that I find interesting is going to be this sort of zone scheme that the Saints are going up against. It's almost a very, I feel like, old school matchup with the Saints defense versus the Raiders offense, but it's like innovative old school head coaches. You know what I mean? Like I feel like this should be. I'm very excited to see what happens. I think the Saints are just a better team, but I think that also, I mean, Drew Brees came very close to throwing a couple picks against Tampa Bay, and if the Raiders can be more opportunistic, I didn't love their secondary last year. Damon Arnett had a bad misplay that resulted in a big touchdown. But you know what? If they can learn in a hurry, I mean, this would be a great game to do it.
Yeah, but at the same time, I'm not necessarily worried. We've gone back and forth on the Drew Brees topic a lot. I'm not necessarily worried about Brees beating downfield. I think if you can keep the game underneath you, which is what the Saints want to do anyways, you're going to keep the game underneath you, and you just got to outscore them at points. I think that the Saints overall, they had 41 points, but a lot of that was because of field position more so than I thought their offensive performance. I wasn't really impressed with anybody besides Kamara from week one in the Saints offense. And I got to double check, but I heard Michael Thomas might not play, right?
Oh yeah, he is there. As a fantasy owner of Michael Thomas, that is, I can fact check that. That is true.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that there is set up that this has upset potential, especially that first night in the stadium. I think it could be an interesting game, especially with that Raiders offense just getting things done.
Yeah. No, I actually agree with the upset potential thing. I did think that this is this one I could see this going as an upset. But I think a bit of a reach at 3. That's my stance. We'll move on now. I'll give you a game now to choose. I'm going to go with, you know what? I'm going to pick a team that did me well last week, where they were able to, you picked wrong on a game they played in. I'm going to go back to the Chicago Bears as well. The Giants at the Bears. The line is Bears -5.5. Who do you got? And again, we don't bet by line. It's just who's going to win. But who do you got? Giants or Bears?
Yeah, I mean, I picked against the Bears week one, and my 2 picks that I lost in week one, oddly enough, were 2 games that the team had a great chance to win and were leading for a lot of the game too. I picked the Lions, and of course I picked the Broncos, as I said earlier. I'm going to go with the Bears though in this one. I think that the Bears defense is still really good, and I do still like a lot out of Daniel Jones, but Daniel Jones has shown time and time again that he's very susceptible to making mistakes, and those mistakes are usually bad and turn the ball over. Like, you can say that, the defensive line just got to him a lot, but at the same time, that 19-play drive, he's got to find a way to throw that ball away rather than flicking it up to Casey Hayward in the end zone. So I'm going to go with the Bears in this one for the victory. All those Mitch haters, he's going to be 2-0 after 2 weeks.
Wow. I mean, that would be pretty great. Well, I'm concerned about, I think this is going to be a low scoring game here. I think that, we saw that what worked for the Bears late in their game against Detroit was that their receivers were beating Detroit's receivers in man coverage. They're not going to be able to do that against New York. I mean, they improved their secondary, they improved their corners, and it really, I think, paid dividends. I thought Bradbury was James Bradbury. He's a very good corner, and he really showed up in that Steelers game. I would have had the Giants, so we disagree on this one. So I'm glad I gave you this one then. I do think that it's fair to say that this Bears defense, again, really murderer's row for Daniel Jones, right? Starting off with Pittsburgh, then going to Chicago. I mean, that's not a fun thing, but I just think that this is going to be a low scoring game, and I don't trust either of these quarterbacks in this situation. Yeah. I do think I probably, it's a toss up. It could go either way. I think that maybe I have to imagine though, Saquon Barkley going to rush for at least half a yard per carry this time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my one argument would be with that. Wouldn't a low-scoring game then, cater to Chicago and what they do? Because I just feel like if this is a low-scoring game, that means Chicago's defense really showed out, and they're going to win this one 14-9 or something stupid like that.
Well, I don't think so. I mean, I don't think that it favors them too much. I think that it actually probably favors the Giants because I feel like the Giants have more big play potential. I feel like the Giants, I could see them getting 2 or 3 chunk plays in this game. I think that they have a pretty talented roster. They have a pretty talented offensive roster. I know that the offensive line did not look good, but it looks pretty good in pass protection. That's the thing. And I think that if they pass the ball more, if they can just get a couple of chunk plays, and they were even able to get a couple against Pittsburgh, I think they'll be able to put up 14, 17. And I think that'll probably be enough to win this game. Again, I don't feel confident about it. That's why I gave you the game. But I feel like I have to give a slight edge to New York.
Yeah, we'll agree to disagree on this one as we we're going to go on to my next pick here. We're going to go to a game with 2 offenses with a lot of potential. One really showed out with in a losing effort, they really showed out, and one left a lot to be desired. I'm going to go with Atlanta traveling to Texas to take on the Dallas Cowboys.
Okay, to your Dallas Cowboys. No, I'm gonna keep doing that. You're gonna make everyone think you're a Cowboys fan. No, I got the Cowboys here. This is an easy one for me. I think that I like what Atlanta did on offense, but their defense was putrid. Like I rewatched that game. I didn't see I think there was some sort of stat of like I forget which. It was like one of those like next gen stats. I don't think it was next gen, but it was like of like a high degree of difficulty throws. The only quarterback who didn't attempt one was Russell Wilson. There was a lot of open guys. There was a lot of poor secondary play for Atlanta. And for Dallas, if you don't put up 28 points here or maybe even 30 points, this is a failure, in my opinion, on offense.
Yeah, I mean, I think that they really need to open this up. I think one of the things I said in our preview to Week 1 show is I really hate the complexion of this Atlanta roster, and it's because their defense is so bad. They're playing so many young guys in the secondary that I really just hate the look of this team. I think the Cowboys do need to open up. The joke was, if you took the mask off Mike McCarthy, it's just going to be Jason Garrett underneath because it looked exactly the same in Week 1.
Mm-hmm.
But I just think that they need to give Prescott more opportunities to throw the ball. He needs to throw the ball more downfield. This guy has a good arm, and they didn't really use it to their advantage in Week 1. And I think that there'd be more opportunities for him in this game with a really bad secondary that he should be able to torch them. So I'm going to go with, I would agree with you on the Cowboys. The one question would be, maybe Atlanta keeps up with them and Julio Jones takes this game over in the 4th quarter. Both of these offenses have a lot of potential.
Well, yeah. I mean, listen, I don't love either of these teams, if I'm being honest. I do like. I mean, one thing we saw a Russell Gage breakout party Week 1. I mean, again, you got him, you got Ridley, you got Julio. The offensive firepower on this Falcons roster is insane, and I thought their line looked solid. I thought that they had. I thought that even Todd Gurley looking like at least a decent, slightly below average starting running back. Like that's significant. That's not nothing. We thought that was going to be one of their biggest problems. I like their offense. I just don't know if I trust their defense. I think Dallas does. I mean, even with they have some tough injuries, but I still feel like even with that, they have more talent on their defense. The Atlanta's defense, it reminds me so much of the this is the real shootout game. I feel like it reminds me so much of like the old Tampa Bay days, like of 5-6 years ago when we have Levante David like being the only guy. Like that's Deion Jones here in this game, or in this season where he's playing so well and no one's gonna care because the defense is just so poor.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think that I just think it's in such a bad shape. And it's tough. Like I said, we've talked about it before. Young secondary players really struggle in their first couple of seasons, and it's really struggling when the other secondary guy is another young guy. So it's not like you can hide a young guy on as that second corner spot. They both got to play against some of the best receivers in the league. I think it's just a tough break for the Atlanta team this year. I don't see it really working out for them.
Yeah, seems unlikely. I will go now. I'm going to do the unfortunate pleasure of giving you your favorite team to pick from. I am going to be giving you the Sunday night football game, Patriots Seahawks. this should be an interesting one. Always fun when these two teams play each other. There was one in particular that you probably had a lot of fun with. Who do you have here winning this one?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a very interesting game. I think it is strength against strength when you're looking at Seattle against New England. Because I think that Seattle's offense looked really good when it opened up, and I think New England's secondary can still be very good, if not great. I think, and then too, you look at the other side. I'm going to pick Seattle. I'll just start with that. I think Seattle's the better team. Hopefully this game happens because, the smoke situation in the West Coast doesn't sound too pleasant. Hopefully there is a game. I know they've had to cancel a couple baseball games out there. Let's hope for the best. I'm sure Bill Belichick has bought smoke machines because he likes to prepare his team for anything. So he's practicing in smoke right now. But yeah, I mean, I just think that, so you looked at what Miami did. Now, I think that Bill Belichick and the offense kept a lot of the cards close to the chest. I don't think they did a lot of what they wanted to do with their offense. I think they're going to slowly work in a lot of the stuff they want to do. But you look at how Miami adjusted by, they were trying to take out the read option by essentially just putting 6 guys on the line between the linebackers and defensive line. Well, if you just look at Seattle's offense or defense, you're going to put 6 guys on the defensive line, and that includes Bobby Wagner and Jamal Adams. And that just is kind of a recipe for disaster for New England's offense. And then defensively for New England, I liked a lot of what they did. They did a great job of creating turnovers, and I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to keep these games low scoring. They're not going to they're going to win the turnover battle every week. But I was looking at Ryan Fitzpatrick and just what he did with Miami. He was very bad. Ryan Fitzpatrick stunk. But you look at it.
It's tragic.
Yeah. So if you look at it, though, besides the 2 interceptions from the secondary, on the intermediate to short passes in the middle of the field, which is typically covered by linebackers, he was I think he was 13 for 15 from NFL Next Gen. 13 from 15. And that's just because we lost guys like Dante Hightower, Jamie Collins, who are great in coverage and able to make a lot of plays at that linebacker spot. And we're now having replacement guys there that I think Russell Wilson, with big receivers like DK Metcalf that are very similar to Miami's skill set with their big receivers, I just see that as kind of a recipe for disaster. I still think New England's going to be a good team and win the division, but I just don't think this is the matchup for them early in the season.
Okay, so you have Seattle winning this one.
Yes.
Gotcha. Yeah. So, I mean, listen, this is Todd Clements in the comments wrote Cam is a one-trick pony. I don't know if I fully agree with that, but I do think that it's worth mentioning that he probably will have to throw the ball this game, to win this game. I think that one of the things that I was probably most disappointed by from Seattle was their secondary, and we hyped up this secondary so much. And while Jamal Adams was great, the whole secondary they gave up 450 yards to Matt Ryan, and I know he threw the ball a ton, so that's misleading. But it still wasn't as good as I was hoping it to be. It certainly wasn't top 3 secondary in the league like I think a lot of us were expecting it to be. So I do think that the way to beat Seattle is going to be, if you want to run the ball, but you're going to have to run play action. You're going to have to throw the ball to beat this team. And I think that they'll be able to beat. I don't think they'll probably still play their typical 4-3 and just trust that Bobby Wagner, KJ Wright, and Jamal Adams can run up and make plays. And then, they'll accept the occasional play action. That's what I would do. I'm with you. I think this game is probably going to be the Seahawks, especially I think that Seattle's going to score points against this Patriots team, even with their great secondary. It'll be interesting because, we're seeing let Russ cook. I think that he probably will be, again, he'll be microwaving this game, not so much cooking. I think that he'll be doing what he has to do, but I think that that's probably going to be, a lot of stuff over the middle, attacking the linebackers. They'll be running the ball a lot. Maybe letting Chris Carson cook this one.
Yeah, I do think that they regress a little bit on the running game or regress a little bit on the passing game. I think a lot of that had to be matchup based too. Obviously, they want to pass a lot with Russell Wilson, and they should pass more. But at the same time, if you look at Atlanta secondary compared to New England secondary, I feel like it's pretty obvious which direction you should go in for week 2. So, yeah, I mean, I hope the Patriots win. I hope they can pull off this upset, but I just feel like Seattle is a better team right now.
Yeah, seems like it. And, again, New England, they're playing in a relatively new system. They're figuring this stuff out. So it seems like maybe down the stretch, there could be a team that could beat Seattle. Seems like week 2, probably not. But you never know. Can never totally count out Bill Belichick. All right, so now it is your pick. Who are you going to give me here?
All right. I kind of wanted to pick this game, but I'm just going to give it to you at this point. I am going to go with the battle for Ohio here. I'm going Cincinnati and Cleveland. So I'm passing that one over to you.
Okay. My biggest takeaway from this game is maybe these are two teams that probably had the worst special teams last week. Abysmal. I mean, Cincinnati. Cleveland's wasn't great. Cincinnati's was atrocious. They gave up big run after big run. Obviously, there was the missed field goal it was an injury. I don't really hold that against them. But the special teams for Cincinnati, not great. And, I thought that Cincinnati, honestly, had the better offense and defense in that game and still lost. But as a whole, I think that my biggest takeaway, I think that I don't know. I think Cleveland's going to find a way to win this one. I think that they're a good enough team. I think that their defense is good. I think Joe Burrow, listen, we're all crazy about his, final drive and how fun that was. He was not good. He was a rookie quarterback in week 1, and that's fine. He's not supposed to be some superstar quarterback right out of the gate. Most guys aren't. He did not have a great game, but that's okay. I mean, he had a rookie game, and he showed up when he had to, and that's what you hope for a rookie. Like, it's not a bad thing, but even though I'm not a big Baker guy, I definitely have more faith in Baker Mayfield right now than I do in Joe Burrow. I have more faith in the Cleveland roster than I do in the Cincinnati's roster. I don't know if I think Burrow's going to be running for his life this entire game. I have Cleveland here.
Yeah, I'd agree with you on this one. I think that Cleveland was obviously the biggest overreaction team from week 1. I think everyone was ready to cast them off. I still think this team has a lot of talent, and they're going to figure it out. I think the first thing that needs to happen is I think they fell down so quickly to Baltimore that it threw off their entire game plan. I think what needs to happen is that they stick to their game plan and they give Kareem Hunt and Nick Chubb more than 23 carries in the game. They don't need to drop Baker Mayfield back that much. I think that they're going to stay within their game plan and run the ball a lot more in this one. And I think that's going to pay a lot of dividends. I think people are jumping to conclusion that Odell Beckham needs to go, Baker Mayfield needs to go, and all needs to start over. I think they just need to play a better game. I think their game plan is going to be better in this one. They're playing a worse team. I think it's going to be fine. I don't think they're going to be 12-win team. They're just clearly, you opened week 1 against the best secondary in the league and the team that was the best record in football last year and had the MVP in Lamar Jackson. It wasn't going to look great. Obviously, you wanted to look better than 38-6, but I do think that they're going to be fine, and they're still talent-wise ahead of Cincinnati.
Yeah. Also, I see people in the chat are killing me because I didn't bring up the Titans when I'm talking about the worst special teams of the week. Yeah, I wasn't really referring to field goal misses, but I mean, I guess I did bring that up. So yeah, bad on me there. But yeah, I had another thing I was going to say. Yeah. Well, right. One of the things that was a real problem for Cleveland was winning against man. They could not get open against man with the great secondary that Baltimore had. And with a team that has guys like Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham Jr., that's not a problem you expect to have. And, this is a game where it's like, it's okay. You can write it off. It's Baltimore. It's fine. Maybe them or, New England, when they play man, it's going to be really tough to get open. But if they can't get open against Cincinnati, hit the panic button. And not that Cincinnati's secondary is bad, but it is banged up, and you got to be able to get open. If you're Odell, if you're an elite receiver, you have to be able to get open every game. That's just what it comes down to.
Yeah, I see a lot of people saying get rid of Odell. You can send him right on over to Foxborough if you don't want him anymore. I'll gladly take him. So
yeah. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I still think it's going to be fine. I think that there was an overreaction to a lot of it. I think that they're still going to be a solid football team once they figure some of these things out. I just think that when you look at continuity, especially with such a shortened offseason, I think or offseason of practices, I think playing a team like the Ravens week 1 is probably the worst case scenario for just about any team because they bring back a lot of the talent that they had from last year, plus added a couple good guys. I said during the Sunday recap that I thought Patrick Queen was really good. Patrick Queen was great in week 1. He was one of the best rookie defenders in the league. Week 1, slots in at that middle linebacker position and looked fantastic. So I think the Ravens might be even better than last year. And so I think they're going to be just fine. I just think the Ravens are, it's not necessarily a hot take to say the Ravens are a tier or two ahead of them, though.
Yeah, I agree, but I think still, again, you score 6 points, you get blown out like that. It's reason to be upset. Okay, so now I'm going to give you a team, and a team is never been more accurate than the team I'm giving you right now. I'm giving you the football team. The football team playing against the Cardinals here. Arizona, both these teams coming off of big upset wins, except if you asked me, then only one of them did. Who do you have here? It should be an interesting matchup, Arizona or Washington.
It's fitting that they play week 2, seeing how they came off with the two biggest upsets in week 1. Although Arizona is a very talented team, we look early on for those teams that maybe people overlooked. I really like this Washington team. I really like this defense. I really like what they can do on that side of the ball. I think they're going to win a lot of football games just off of this defense making so many plays, and specifically this defensive line making a ton of plays that are just going to wreak havoc on the NFL. I think that the balls can be very good this year. I think that they're going to be very good in this one also. But I'm taking the Cardinals. I just think that there's too much. I think that the offense has to get a little better for the balls. You can't average 3.5 yards a play or whatever it was that they had in week 1. I think that they're going to be very good, but I think that defensive line looked great, but I don't think this is a game for them because Kyler looks so explosive. So I really do like this football team, though. I think that they are going to be very talented. I'm just going to pick the Cardinals in this one because it feels like the safe pick.
Yes, makes a lot of sense. I think that Arizona has a really good shot here. I think that it kind of reminds me a little bit of last week's game, to be honest, where Arizona, their offense is kind of just built around, like, if you have a great defensive line, they totally can neutralize it. And while I do think that Arizona isn't, I still have some questions about their defense. I think that I would like to see them play a really good offense to sort of see how good they are. That will not be this week. I think Dwayne Haskins has, he looked like an actual NFL quarterback last week. Like, he didn't look like he was some guy who just like happened to walk on the field and was trying to figure out. Like, in the past, it looked like he was just like some really athletic guy who just like, great throw at the football, who had never played before and was just trying to figure it out. Last week, he actually looked like he knew what he was doing. I'm not saying he was fantastic, but he actually looked like he knew what he was doing. But yeah, I mean, it seems unlikely that Washington will win this game. I do think they're better than we gave them credit for before preseason, but I don't know. This is going to be a tough one.
Well, a couple quick things on the balls real quick. Mm-hmm. So Dwayne Haskins had thank you. The balls is it fits perfectly because Dan Snyder is the nutsack of the NFL organization as a
yes,
whole.
Exactly.
So it fits perfectly with the team. They should just keep the team name permanently, honestly. Mm-hmm.
Yes.
So I think that the one thing, oh my gosh, I can't talk. Haskins had the lowest completion percentage to expected completion percentage per NFL Next Gen. And a lot of that was just because, they play a conservative approach on offense. I think the big thing that you have to look at with Haskins is that he doesn't make mistakes. He's not making monumental errors right now. They're going to win the turnover battle, I think, a lot of games because of this defensive line. But I think the one thing that you have to look at, the one thing about these air raid, spread them out, Cliff Kingsbury style offenses is that, kind of like what you said, that it's such a short, quick passing game that it's built to minimize great defensive lines because they don't have enough time to get in the backfield and get the quarterback. And even if they get in the backfield to get the quarterback, they still have to catch Kyler freaking Murray, who is he's one of the most exciting. He's, miniature-sized Mike Vick. His ability to just cut on a dime and stay at full speed is incredible. And I just think he's that good of a football player. I think that he's going to minimize this defensive line, which the game plan already does. So I'm going to take the Cardinals, although I am watching the balls this year. I'm keeping an eye on them as a potential NFC East
Keeping an eye on balls here.
Keeping an eye on balls. That's the quote of the day. Take that out for a clip. I'm watching them for the NFC East crown. I think that they can be a sneaking competitive.
One other thing I want to mention before we go to the next one, just that Arizona, they made a clear effort against San Francisco to really stop the run. I mean, they were very much in on stopping the run, and Jimmy G was not able to throw against them. He was not able to take advantage of it. I don't blame him. I blame the receivers. But nevertheless, I think that we could see a similar mindset this time. Peyton Barber actually looked pretty good for Washington. So yeah, I think that this could be an interesting one. But yeah, I mean, you got to put it on the Cardinals. And I think at this point, we're just picking sort of the ones with the most upset potential. So why don't you go ahead and give me one that you feel has some upset potential?
Ooh. I'm going to pick this one. There's not a lot of great games left as far as upset potential in my mind. I am going to give you this one because this team's game plan is kind of just built to shrink the game to as short as possible. They're a very good football team. They're very disciplined. They're very smart. But their game plan is to shrink the game as much as possible and just win by efficiency. So I'm going to give you Jacksonville at Tennessee for this one.
Okay, I picked Tennessee. But yeah, I mean, listen, Jacksonville looked a lot better than anyone gave them credit for. I think that there's no denying that. The reason why I still have Tennessee is I just think they're a very good football team. I know I saw you tweeted out something about like how you hope you never have to watch a Tennessee game again. I think that I don't know. I find them interesting. I think they need to kick the ball better, but I think that their special teams has been atrocious these past 2 years. It's talking about just their field goal unit. It's been a mess. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, one thing that I didn't really realize when we went live, just how good undrafted rookie James Robinson looked. He was just as big a part of that win as Minshew was. He was electric. And it'll be interesting to see him go up against the Tennessee Titans. I mean, is it just a one one-time thing, or is he really is he the real deal?
What is he? What is he? The Jonas Gray of 2020? Is that the guy?
Who's Jonas Gray?
Was that the guy for the Patriots that had that 200-yard game against the Colts?
Oh, right. I know. Yeah. Getting a little in the Patriots Rolodex there, yeah, but
yeah,
right,
exactly. I had to go way back for that one. He had that 200-yard week, and then he was basically out of the league out of that because he missed a practice.
Right.
So the thing is so we're talking about upset potential because a lot of these games there is a clear-cut favorite. I think in my mind. So I think that the one thing Tennessee, I'm not going to front anything. Tennessee has a clear talent advantage for this one, but the way that they play shrinks the game. They minimize possessions. They do as little as possible. So I think a lot of their games stay relatively close because of that. Now, when I tweeted out that I'm going to have Titans fans in my mentions here about this, when I tweeted out that I hope I watch this Titans team as little as possible, they're the most boring good team I've ever watched play football. And I'm going to have them in my mentions here. I can't wait to see it. But my God, I understand that they're limiting the game. I understand exactly what they do and why it's successful. It wins football games, and that's what's important. But at the same time, I could care less about Ryan Tannehill hard counting for 30 seconds every other play to throw a 5-yard hitch to Adam Humphries. So they're going to be good. They're going to win the division probably. I just hope to have to watch them as little as possible.
Okay. Well, I mean, listen, that's your opinion. I don't know. I like it. I think it's fun. But, fair enough, to each their own. Why don't you go ahead and give me your pick now?
I just picked that one. I had you pick.
Oh, well,
your turn to make me pick a game.
Yes. Okay. You know what? My bad on that one. We'll move on. I'll give you a divisional matchup here. Divisional matchups can go either way. Let's go with a team not to be confused with the Bills taking on the Dolphins. Again, I think this is an obvious one who you're going to choose, but who do you have to win this one and why?
By the way, a guy who talked about my Pop-Tart shirt, thank you. I appreciate that. I am gonna go with the Bills in this one. You received some heat because of your Josh Allen take from last week. I think the one thing you have to look at is that, just because a guy has a bunch of yards, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're a good quarterback or had a great week. Josh Allen still made a ton of mistakes. He leaves a lot of throws that are just bad throws and just bad misses. And just because he throws for a ton of yards, if you looked at the greatest quarterbacks of all time list and just went strictly on stats, all of the greatest quarterbacks of all time would be from the last 5 years because they put up a ton of stats. The one thing I did like was that I liked a lot of what the Bills did on their game plan in throwing more on first and second down and more in play action because it gives Allen more chances to make throws in less susceptible passing situations rather than sticking him in 3rd and long where you know he's not going to be successful because he's not as accurate as he should be. I think throwing early is actually a good thing for the Bills, and I think that's something that they did very well, especially when they spread the ball or the field more out with 2 or 3 receivers on the field essentially at all times, which is something that they haven't done a lot in the past. But I do think that I think this is going to be closer because I think the Dolphins defense is frisky. They try. But I just think that there's a clear talent discrepancy that I'm taking the Bills.
Yeah, I mean, this is this seems like it's going to be Buffalo's thing. I mean, the one thing we got to see is, again, the reason kind of why I'm giving it to you is like there always is that Fitz magic potential. You never know. He could end up just having one of those breakout days. I do not think he's going to, though. I think it'd be very dumb to bet on the Dolphins to win outright unless you get pretty good odds. I was
going to say quickly. Do you want to hear my bold prediction for the week? Okay. Here's my hottest take. I picked them up in fantasy just for a second. My hottest take. This is going to be Ryan Fitzpatrick last game as an NFL starting quarterback.
Wow. Okay, that's a hot take. Why do you feel that way?
The throws just weren't there. I think that, for a guy who was a career backup, I thought that there was a lot of, he never had the biggest arm, but I just felt like a lot of the velocity wasn't there. And I know he's going up against 2 really hard secondaries. And I think part of the reason that Tua didn't play these first 2 games is because these secondaries are so good. You want to get him in there with some confidence. And these 2 teams aren't really the places to throw him in and get confident. So I just think that they're trying to get through these 2 weeks. And I think they're going to reevaluate the situation. And I don't really see a situation where he's going to be very good. I think a team like Jacksonville is kind of the ideal situation where Tua can come in and start his game. I think this is the last time, barring an injury from Tua, when he takes over the starting role. I think this is Fitzpatrick's last game as an NFL starter.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, they play Jacksonville, then they play Seattle and the San Francisco 49ers right after. So it would be, you get one easy one, but then kind of a couple tough ones. I don't know. I mean, if you were going to put, I feel like he would have to be, again, it would have to be another 0 touchdown, 3 interception performance to do it. But maybe that's what you think is going to happen. That's interesting. Yeah, very interesting. I'm also interested to see, again, Josh Allen, he's got to cut down on the mistakes. Like, people killed me last week for saying some bad things. He's got to cut down on the mistakes. He makes way too many mistakes. He makes way too many errors. He had several just awful missed throws. He probably had like 5 or 6 plays that are like the ones you say that shouldn't happen in a game. He also had a ton of good. Like, don't get me wrong. Josh Allen does have good, but I'm not going to backtrack and say like, oh, he was good because he had some good plays. He still has that good potential. I would still say at this point, he's the second best quarterback out of that draft class. I mean, obviously Lamar's one, but I'd rather have him right now than Baker or Darnold. Definitely Rosen, obviously. But I mean, he's got to cut down on mistakes. We'll see if he can have a bounce back game because I did not think he was good against the Jets, but luckily he was playing the Jets.
Yeah, I mean, I've done my Josh Allen take, I think, multiple times on here about, when he plays a talented team, it changes. I think a lot of it is when he plays teams like the Dolphins and Jets, he's the best athlete on the field. And it's not really that hot of a take. He's an incredible runner. He's incredibly strong. He has a very good arm. He's the best athlete on the field when he plays some bad teams. But when he plays against good defenses, smart defenses, and smart teams, the athleticism doesn't really play as much of an impact. He's got to make good plays and he's got to make good throws, and he hasn't proven to done that against a lot of good teams. So, I mean, that's continued to be my Josh Allen thing. I'm not judging Buffalo on games against the Jets or the Dolphins. I think that they should win, and they will win both of these. I'm judging Josh Allen when he has to play teams like the Patriots, who he hasn't beaten yet in his career.
Yes, again, I think we're going on like 7 or 8 games now. You found a way to bring up the Patriots into. Excellent work by you. Okay, you can now tell me to shut up, and you will get to pick a game to give to me.
Wow. All right, I'm gonna go with this one. Heartbreaking loss in week 1. Do they find a way to bounce back against another divisional opponent who looked very good and had angry Aaron in week 1? I guess I'll go with the Lions and the Packers here. Like I said, a lot of clear-cut favorites, I feel like, these last few games. But the Lions offense always has potential. Can they get it done here against Green Bay? What's your pick?
Yes, not a bad selection. Again, the divisional matchups, that's what you want to do, I think, later down the stretch, because those are the upset potential ones. The Green Bay Packers are 100% going to win this game. That's my lock of the week. Green Bay Packers are going to win this football game. I just feel like I was not impressed. I mean, I know the Detroit Lions corners were banged up. I don't know if any of them are coming back week 2, but if they're not, this should be another blowout. They were doing a really bad job of against. I actually said like, hey man, it's looking like Mitchell Trubisky is like prime Aaron Rodgers out here. Again, in the fourth quarter against the Lions. I said that in my video. Well, you know who else is looking like prime Aaron Rodgers? Aaron Rodgers. And I don't have too much confidence in Detroit being able to stop this team. I was listening to Luke G's field review when he did his show about the Lions. And he was talking about someone on that show sort of said, next week we're going to get absolutely killed by the Packers. I kind of agree. I just think this is going to be a tough one. Maybe Adrian Peterson could, get something going and they could have some success on offense, but they're going to have to probably score 30 to win this one, I think.
Yeah, I agree with pretty much everything you said. Rodgers threw some just beautiful balls in that one. Back to balls here, but we're not talking about the Washington balls. We're talking about Aaron Rodgers balls. He threw some great balls in this one in week 1, and I think he's going to just torch this Lions defense. I mean, the path for the Lions to win week 1 is that the offense puts it together and they win this game like 35-31. I don't think it's going to happen. I think that the Packers defense is good enough to limit them, and I think the Packers offense could put up 41 in this one, not 31. So I think this is pretty clear-cut Packers for me.
Yes, very good stuff. Papa Bino says, "Well, we'll let you read that one for yourself." Yes, the show's gone off the rails a little bit, but that's fine. I think this should be an interesting game. Again, Detroit. Again, what are you doing? Get rid of Patricia. That's all I have to say. We'll move on. So now I'm giving you a game. Let's see. This is a tough one. I am going to give you the next one on my list. I put a list here for a reason, so I don't have to make these decisions while we're recording. I'm going to go Denver and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is -7.5 favorites. Some say they're a top 3 team in the AFC. They're really good, and Denver is really banged up. This is an obvious choice for you, but I'm going to give it to you anyways.
Yeah, that person saying top 3 in the AFC would be me. I still feel like they are. I was impressed with how they looked in the second half. I think Denver impressed me in parts too. I thought the defense in parts looked really good. I thought even without Von Miller, they still had a lot of good moments. But I thought there was a lot of passing lanes in that game. I felt like there was a lot of space over the middle against that Denver defense. I thought Tannehill had opportunities to kind of pick them apart. And Steelers receivers are just better than Tennessee's receivers, and Ben Roethlisberger is still better than Tannehill in my mind. So I'm just going to go with the Steelers here. I just think that receivers are going to be too much, and I'm going to take this by 2 touchdowns.
Isn't everyone better than Tannehill in your mind?
No, not at all. But I think Big Ben
number one Tannehill hater, Kyle.
Geez. I mean, when he's hard counting for 30 seconds every other play, excuse me, I'm not too excited to watch him. But no, I mean, I thought, the biggest question with the Steelers was, is Big Ben going to be Big Ben still? And, he looked like the first quarter and a half, he looked like a quarterback who hasn't thrown a football in 12 months. And then the third and fourth quarter, I thought he looked fantastic. I thought he was back to Big Ben. And as much as it pains me to say it, I think that the Steelers are going to be a very good football team, and they're going to compete with everybody. I think that they're that good. I think that they're a contender in the AFC. I'm not sleeping on them at all.
Yeah, I think this is a much better game if Denver is healthy. I just think the injuries are too much to come back from. Again, I think they're going to be a fun team. I think that Denver's definitely gotten some bad injury luck, which sucks. They got bad injury luck last year as well. I thought they were unlucky last year, already getting unlucky this year. I think it's tough. Well, let's try to be positive for both sides. What is the way Denver wins? I think the way Denver wins is if Drew Lock can have a big day, get a couple chunk plays, and their defense can be a lot more suffocating. Maybe they get. I mean, listen, the last time these two teams played each other, Denver won despite being having a much worse record due to a goal line interception by Big Ben. The last time we saw Big Ben, he led the league in passing and in interceptions. So, maybe if they can get a couple interceptions from Big Ben, there is a path to win this game. It just seems like it's not a big path.
Yeah, and I think the one thing that I really liked out of Denver is that, we were both pretty high on Drew Lock in the offseason, and I liked a lot of what I saw in week 1. I thought he was very good. I think the pathway for success is a lot of what they did against Tennessee. I thought Jerry Jeudy he looked electric. He looked like he could slot in on like 10 teams right now and be their number one receiver. Now he's got to clean up the drops. Now the thing that's the biggest thing that's got to change. If he makes those 2 catches that were pretty easy catches, he got himself so wide open that dropping the ball killed him. But I felt like he was so wide open and he makes so many big plays that if he makes those catches, Broncos could have easily won that game against Tennessee. So that would be the thing, is they kind of just do what they did last week. Locke makes some big throws and his receivers are able to convert.
Yeah, it's so impressive. I feel like what Jeudy did. I mean, again, I'm a huge fan of his, but I mean, even with the drops, the fact that he's able to come in there with the banged up, the receiving core, where he's basically the guy. He's like your Devontae Adams, where it's like a lot much talent, but you have one guy, and he was able to have success. I was really impressed with what I saw. It'll be fun to see if he can sort of clean up the worst aspects of his game and go from there. Oh, go ahead.
I was going to ask, because I think us more so than a lot of other people spent a lot of time on this. Week 1, what's your power rankings? I know you were kind of a Jeudy guy before week 1. I was kind of a Lamb guy before week 1. Ruggs was obviously taken first, and I liked all 3 of them in week 1. What's your power rankings for those rookie receivers? And Jalen Reagor was also very good. So
I'm going to have to defer on this one. The reason why is there's still no all 22 footage out. So I can't really get like the end of a lot of these routes. All I can do is the broadcast footage. So it's so fresh. I don't know why the all 22 isn't out yet. I think it might have something to do with COVID. I really don't know. But I mean, I'll stick with, from what I've seen, I'll stick with my number one guy. I'll continue what I said earlier, where I have I'm going to go. I just completely blanked on his name, even though we just the Broncos guy, Raiders guy, Cowboys guy. Yes, names are tough.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they all looked good in parts. I thought Lamb looked really good in parts. They just didn't throw the ball downfield a whole lot. Someone here is mentioning Claypool. I thought Claypool was good in his spots too. Like I said, I need to watch a little more of what Reagor did, but I thought he looked very good in certain spots. I was very impressed with the rookie receiving core for this one.
Yeah, if they ever give us all 22, I can revisit that and give an opinion on it. All right, so your pick now. There's 4 games left. We have the Panthers, Bucks, Chiefs, Chargers, Ravens, Texans, and Jets, 49ers. Those are the 4 games left. Which one are you going to give me?
There's 2 games I feel like I can go with here. I'm just going to pick the team that's the worst of the underdogs here, or the best of the underdogs. So I feel like that's the fair way to look at this one, although the team that they're playing is very good and probably the best in the league. I'm going to go with the Ravens and the Texans. I do think, if I'm looking at the underdogs for these last 4 games, the Texans are clear-cut the best one of those 4. I didn't love a lot of what they did in week 1, but they're playing the Ravens. But what do you got here? I feel like this is pretty obvious. Yeah,
this is a good one. I probably could have given you this one. I had this as the last one on my list. That was probably not smart. But I feel like this Baltimore team is so good. And I don't have much faith in the Texans. I mean, especially what happened last time they played each other last year. I know they're different teams, but I feel like if anything, I mean, both teams are better, or both the Ravens are better. The Texans are worse. So I feel like this is going to be all Baltimore. And I think that if the receivers had a hard time beating the Chiefs secondary, they're really going to have a hard time beating Baltimore's secondary. I did not have a ton of confidence in the Texans. I'll say, even if you gave me 7 points, even if it was Ravens -7, I'm still betting on the Ravens here.
Yeah, I didn't love a lot of what I saw at Houston. We talked about that a lot on the Sunday night talk. I just think that there's a lot of problems with this team, and I don't think that they're going to get better by week 2. Yeah, I mean, I just think that we're both down as Ravens as our Super Bowl pick. I didn't come away from their first game thinking that they're anything but the best team in football, because I think that's what they are right now. They're that good. I think this is pretty clear cut. I just didn't love a lot of the underdogs in the other games.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's fair. I mean, maybe Lamar Jackson gets hurt, then you have a chance. But that's literally like what you're like thinking to win that. I don't know. I'm just so frustrated. Texans are a fun team to watch, but not really not looking great for them. But hey, I mean, listen, again, I try to be positive as much as I can. And I'll just leave it with William Floyd saying Bill O'Brien is terrible. I'm sure all the Texans fans will at least appreciate that, even if I'm being negative about their team. My next pick, I'm gonna go with. I'll give you my team. I'll go Panthers Buccaneers here. I think that again. I think the Bucs probably win this game. I think that there a chance, again, divisional matchup, which is something there. I also think that Tampa Bay's offense clearly has some struggles. I recorded a Tom Brady video. I haven't edited it yet, but I sort of talk about how I don't know if I love all of these option routes. I feel like it results in too many turnovers. That happened last week. Could happen again. Seems like it's probably Tampa Bay, but who do you have in this one?
Yeah, I'm taking it feels pretty easy to take Tampa Bay in this one. I think that they figure some stuff out. I think that they're still going to be a really good football team. I thought the defense looked really good. And they're going to be better than the Raiders defense that gave up a lot of points to the Panthers. I think the biggest thing that happened to the defense was field positioning was their biggest issue. And so I think the defense is going to be very good. I think the offense for the Buccaneers is slowly going to start to figure some of these things out. I think that they're going to be very good eventually, but they got to get there. It's going to take a little bit. So I'm still going to take Tampa Bay. I still think that they're a better team, and I still think that they're going to be a playoff team.
Well, yeah, I mean, that's the concern, right? Because you have Panthers, you have Broncos, Chargers, and Bears. That looks like a pretty easy next 4 games. So I think there is some optimism there. But you have to figure it out, and you have to figure it out quickly. You're running out of time, and they didn't look close to figuring it out against the Saints. But again, the Saints are an awesome team. So there's also that, I see a Fitty Rap says, I couldn't see the Bucs with all that talent going 0-2. We said similar things about Cleveland. It's possible. It seems unlikely, but I like Carolina. I think they're a better team than I gave them credit for. So again, I don't think they're going to win, but we have 3 teams left. You got to go with it. So now I'll give you the last selection here. We have 2 games left, but this is going to be the last decision to make in terms of which game to give someone else. 49ers, Jets, or Chiefs, Chargers. Who do you got to give to me?
I'll give you Chiefs, Chargers, just because, I guess. Chiefs, Chargers,
okay.
Go for it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's a divisional matchup. I guess you can argue that. Yeah, I mean, the Chiefs are going to win this football game, most likely. I mean, it seems like it's going to be I don't see how Kansas City loses it. Granted, the literally the one that was last week was Washington, Philadelphia, and that one went the other way. So you never do know. Things I'm looking forward to in this game, I think I'm interested in seeing how good is the Chargers defense really, because they looked pretty good against Joe Burrow, but Joe Burrow also didn't look that great. I'm also interested to see if the Chargers offense can get much going. They were not able to get much going against Cincinnati. Chargers also, again, like I said, their special teams, again, take out field goals. Their special teams really dominated since Cincinnati's special teams. That might be the biggest thing I'm interested in watching is the kickoffs and punt returns.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think the offense and defensive matchups between these 2 teams are going to be much to watch.
Yeah,
I was really impressed with that. I was really impressed with that Chiefs defense in week 1 and how they handled the guy like Watson, and now they're taking on Tyrod Taylor. So I think that's a clear advantage to Kansas City. And I'm interested to see this Chargers defense. The problem is that I just think too much changes for this Chargers defense when Derwin James isn't there. I feel like he's the kind of talent that makes a whole defense from good to great. And I just don't think this defense is going to be great enough to handle the Kansas City offense. I'm interested to see how they continue to incorporate Clyde Edwards-Helaire, not Hilaire.
right. Get it right.
Yeah, I know. I'm curious to how they incorporate him more into the offense. Are they going to use him more in the passing game because that was his strength in college? I think that starts to happen more and more throughout the season, because the biggest thing with rookie running backs is picking up blitz protections. So you don't want him back there if he's not able to pick up a lot of blitz protections. I think he starts to work some of that out, and I think this is a good week to start incorporating him more and more. So I think it's going to be the Chiefs by a lot. It's just our last 2 games.
Yes, I see. Papa Benos in the chat says Chiefs 31, Chargers 20. If the Chargers lose by 11 here, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy do you think they feel after the game?
12.
Yeah.
If they score 20 points, I think that they gotta feel a 12.
And only give up 31.
Yeah. I mean, it's not even necessarily about, I think the defense has potential, but I don't see this team scoring 20 points. I just don't think I've been on my Tyrod rant too. I just don't think that he's a good enough quarterback. So yeah, I mean, I don't see them scoring 20 points. I could see like maybe a 31-10, maybe not 31-20.
Right. Also, I believe this is your burner account who wrote Derek Carr has no playoff games in 6 years. So, good job by you to type in the chat while you're also recording a podcast. And we'll move on to the last game. Obviously, I'm giving you 49ers at Jets. The Jets are terrible, and if you pick the Jets, then you deserve 1,000 misses. Who do you have for this one?
Yeah, Adam Gase is flying up the first coach fired spectrum. It's just looking like a disaster there. So I'm taking the 49ers. They're going to be angry after losing week 1. The 49ers, the argument for them is really that, is there a Super Bowl loss hangover happening here? But even, they could have no legs and still beat the Jets. So they
could show up actually hungover and still be able to win this game.
Yeah. And by the way, speaking of this, we've talked about some of our gambling escapades throughout the some of our shows. I found you have it at -7 here. On my bookie, I found the 49ers a couple days ago at -6.5. And I don't think my keys boards have ever worked that fast trying to punch that in at -6.5. I don't see a scenario where the Jets are keeping this within a touchdown. Explain that to me.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. I'm with you 100%. I've already put money down on San Francisco. Papa Benos says 49ers 999, 999, 999 to Jets -10. Okay, on a scale of 1 to 10, how happy are the Jets if this is the final score?
12. No.
Yes.
Yeah. I mean, I just don't think it's good, and I don't think that this is not that a lot of games are good matchups for Sam Darnold. I think that this is a bad matchup for Sam Darnold, though. I don't think it's really gonna. I don't see this game being within 20 points.
Yeah, I also I'm gonna laugh when the Jets win this game, and we talked all this nonsense.
We said all of this, yeah.
Yeah, optimistic point for the Jets. Marcus Maine is really good. He's a great safety. That's it.
Yeah,
that's all I got.
He's playing with a bunch of scrubs too, so that's the problem.
Yeah.
I hate to be so negative, but I mean,
I know it's how do you not? I mean, listen. Here's the thing. Every other team would be like. Every other fan base would be like, hey, screw you. Jets aren't that bad. Jets fans are like, oh yeah, no, that's fair. Like Jets fans are saying what we're saying. Like it's frustrating because they have so much talent, and I do actually think they're set up nicely for future years. They have the draft picks from Jamal Adams. They have the ability to fire Adam Gase. That's going to feel good. But as a whole, I just think that this year is going to be a rough one. And you know what? They'll probably have Trevor Lawrence, so you got that going for you.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the one thing, we talk about we're optimistic people here on the Sideline podcast, of course, and we try to stay optimistic. I think my optimistic take for the Jets each week is that they have Joe Douglas. They have Joe Douglas, so that they have that going for them, which is nice, and that's about all they got. So yeah,
I like the uniforms. Uniforms are solid.
Really? I like the old Jets. I like the old Jets logo. I'm impartial to beating them by 30 in that logo as a Patriots fan rather than beating them by 30 in this new logo.
Yes,
so, I mean,
real Patriots problems there. All right, so that's our show. We'll end it on a good note, unless you're a Jets fan. Fun show, and we will be back again Sunday at midnight to talk about it. And first, Kyle, if you want to go ahead and plug what you have going on.
Oh yeah, so I've mentioned the Patriots probably 12 times on this podcast in case anybody's been listening. Go to GuyBostonSports.com. I write about the Patriots on there, and I also have a podcast that I started up this week too, that I'm just talking Patriots football for 45 minutes. You can't get anything better than that than Patriots football for almost an hour. So GuyBostonSports.com, and it's the Patriot Way podcast that's on Spotify that started up this week. I try and put them out Wednesday morning, Tuesday night-ish. Make sure to check that out if you're interested in Patriots football. If you're not interested in Patriots football, kind of go fuck yourself, but it's okay.
Wow. Again, trying to demonetize this video while angering most of the fan base with that one. Patriot Way. That one wasn't taken. You got that one. Do you think that would have been taken?
Yeah, it wasn't on Spotify.
What a get.
I'd gladly scoop that up. So
yeah,
I'll gladly take it. Make sure to go back and listen to this show too and check out some of Jackson's videos. He breaks down a lot of great stuff. Great time to have some football back. It's great.
Yes, that's the best time of the best season of the year, football season. So yeah, again, thanks to everyone who is in the chat. Always appreciate it. You can also check out my Twitch. The link is in most of my videos below. Until next time, have a good one.
Peace.